Puka Nacua in rehab, man, and tons of NFL rule changes to go over, how they affect the Rams, what is up with Nacua and his situation, as we're getting updates on that every day, it seems like. Me and Mark will talk about all the important stuff going on this update episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. And if you're here on YouTube, whether you're on the audio-only, podcast-only side of things, share it all, everyone. Continue to support us. Continue to support all Rams content creators. Like the video. Subscribe to the channels you enjoy. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any other updates throughout this offseason leading in to the draft and beyond. And again, support all Rams content creators, not just us. So I very much appreciate everyone tuning in here today, as we got a lot to talk about, Mark. There's a lot that went down in the last couple of days, both macro NFL rule changes, etc., and we'll go through them one by one. And then with our own team, the Rams, as you know, we're in the headlines for a lot of wacky reasons, more TMZ reasons than we'd like, right? Shoot.
Yeah, TMZ, man. I hate those three initials, those three letters, because it usually means bad stuff's coming. I don't follow them, pay too much attention to them, but when it's Puka, I guess we can't. I guess we got to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding. And before we get into the Puka stuff, let's start off on a lighter note. At least for my entertainment and for anyone who cares about uniform stuff, as that is a reoccurring theme that we're all waiting patiently to get updates on. Maybe tomorrow, Mark, for good PR, right, to kind of wash away Nacua drama, they'll give us an update. Maybe not. But as we talked about the last episode, everyone, how all the NFL draft hats were available for the Rams, or not for the Rams, but for every other team. I said that backwards. Let me rewind that real quick for myself. Every other team in the NFL has a draft hat you can buy on Fanatics, NFL.com, etc., except the Rams, which is crazy, but we all know why, because they're releasing a quote-unquote updated new logo. They're going to be releasing updated uniforms, primary uniforms, maybe a cool alternate, a throwback, etc. So we got a leak from an Australian website. It is legit, where they sell a lot of professional sports stuff, not just for their own country, rugby, etc., but for the Americas and everything else. I mean, Mark, Zach Cohen, FB, as he's been the main proponent for all these rumors and news about Rams updates, uniforms, logos, but for all teams for the last 4 years, and has been correct. He shares a tweet here, Mark. The Rams 2026 NFL draft has been published. After it leaked last month, it features the new logo I reported about, Zach says, but also a new Wordmark. We also get our first partial look at the design under the lid. As every draft hat, Mark, has a cool design in the inside of the cab. Again, if you're on YouTube, you can pause. You can find Zach's tweet here. Or if you follow me on Twitter, so you can see my retweeted stuff on that. But the Wordmark, Mark, look at that. Slightly different. It has that kind of curled, longer R. And if you're looking here on YouTube, I'm pointing to the hat I'm wearing. This is the traditional throwback style cursive font, where the R also has that longer swirling, leg of the capital R. And this new font, Wordmark, has that. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like it. I assume you like it. Are you saying you like it? It looks cool to me. You're the uniform and font guy. Are you in full? Are you in favor of this approach?
It doesn't. I think it could look really good. Look, now, if we compare it to what it currently is right now, it's pretty bland, right?
Yeah.
There's no character to it. There's no flavor. There's none of that. Now, to adjust it, shout out to, I believe, I forget who exactly. I'll make sure to find them right now on my phone and credit them, whoever made this design, where it'll be the one color LA primary logo, and then it'll be this updated Rams Wordmark with that more swooshing, pointy leg of the R, that looks better. I think it does. Now, that's yellow background, blue font. And then if we do the opposite, which would be all yellow, I'm in favor of this, Mark. I think it will look pretty dang good on a hat. I think it will look good maybe on the jersey too, as I can't help myself. I was like, okay, well, if they were to throw Rams on the jersey, that new word mark, please of almighty God, let's not do the name tag patch like it was before. I'll pull my hair out if I see that when the jerseys get released. If they do a traditional style, like, right above the numbers, smaller, I think that would look pretty dang good too, Mark. So, I mean, we'll find out soon, everyone. But I mean, your opinions, Mark, as I let the cat out of my room here as I open the door. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the previous one you showed was, your typical solid, impactful font. That they're trying to. If that's what you're looking for, that's what that font. Uh, that's how it comes across to me. The new one is much more creative, a little more artistic, and yeah, I like it as well. And I don't know if the lettering that on the uniform is really necessary anywhere. I don't know.
I agree.
It's the uniform, the colors, the helmet can carry the story. They can carry the entire uniform. You don't need to throw extra, words and text on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. And as I pull up here on Twitter, I make sure I credit everyone who made this. I just screenshotted and shared it. It was my goodness on this. And shout out to him. He's a Denver Broncos fan. Shout out to you, homie, if you're watching this right now. And shout out also to uh who we got here. Yeah, Franco Tenko. He's a big, proponent of bringing back the traditional uniforms. He always has good, fun mocks and edits. He did some really good looking gear where he threw this on like a bomber jacket, made like, a mock hat. I was like, all right, that all looks pretty good. And then, I mean, man, Mark, I mean, we'll find out eventually very, very soon. Fingers crossed before the draft. I mean, they have to, like I've been saying, right? But I mean, geez Louise, I just think it'd be incredibly stupid for them to just continue to wait. We need some good PR, everyone, with the Nacua stuff. And then again, I'm trying to find his name here on my phone, Twitter. I probably should have had it ready beforehand. He did a mock up of what a potential New Jersey could have been. And I also just threw the Rams word mark on top just as a visual reference. If we get this mark, like for someone to buy, like the fan one, I'll buy it. I'll buy a Matthew Stafford of that. I'll buy a, Nacua, et cetera, any other star player. Maybe a McDuffie may fall into my lap if I feel, if I got enough cash for that, if that makes sense. So, I mean, dude, crazy, crazy how things are leaking. And the Rams just could have released it by now and we didn't have to keep, continue to speculate and see leaks, right?
Yeah, but I think their operation is, I think they get it. They're hanging on to that as long as possible. I mean, they're going to have to get it out here pretty quick though, because the draft is sneaking up on us. But it creates a lot of excitement among the fan base, apprehension. But they better get it right, or it could really backfire. You waited and waited, and then this, kind of what happened. As far as some people felt that way about the last time. I was a
Yeah.
little indifferent, but I get it.
No, and then finally, the real con man, as he is a Denver Broncos fan, but he is a uniform maniac. He made again. Let me pull it up real quick. He made the jersey edit. I just threw on the Rams word mark. Shout out to him. And then he also made this bigger version of the Rams word mark, new logo. So shout out to you, bro. We always communicate. The real con man is his profile picture is Bo Nix and the throwback Denver uniform, as he's a big uniform guy, always commenting on not just his team, Ram stuff, but any team. So, I mean, hey, we'll see what happens, everyone. Things are going to be coming out soon. And if I were the Rams, you drop that shit tomorrow, or not necessarily maybe release the uniform, because I know Atlanta Falcons dropping their new stuff. Maybe they could anyway. But you release something tomorrow. The Puka Nacua PR is bad right now, and we need some good vibes, and I'm sure that will happen. So as we segue into more serious stuff, Mark, as it is April 1st, everyone, that this news came out. A lot of people, including myself, are like, wait a minute, is this real? But after credible New York Post, California Post, TMZ. And then once all the NFL insiders start commenting on it, then you're like, oh, this is real. What are we talking about if you're not informed by now on this situation? From Ian Rappaport, a statement from attorney Levi McCatherine, who represents Ramstar wide receiver Puka Nacua, who is currently at a recovery center. So it is true, everyone. Rehab, recovery center, I think, is probably the better term on this. So what did Levi, the attorney for Nacua, say? Quote, Puka takes responsibility for his well-being and increasing his performance during the offseason. So in early March, before any temporary restraining order was filed by Madison Atiabi and subsequently denied by the court, Puka voluntarily entered a holistic care facility to focus on his personal growth. He is committed to using this time constructively so that he can return in the best possible position, both personally and professionally, to continue contributing to his team and the game he loves. He will complete the program in plenty of time to be involved in all of the Rams OTAs. Puka is also deeply grateful for the support he has received from his family, friends, Coach McVay, and his teammates. It is unfortunate that a trivial lawsuit has drawn attention to Puka during a time when he is focused on becoming a better overall person. I am really excited to see what the future holds for this gifted young man. So, Mark, they're saying this has nothing to do with the lawsuit, the restraining order. He checked himself into this recovery center before then. But for everyone out there, because I saw a lot of people dunking on this, Rams fans, other fan bases being like, oh, not a shock. He's a shithead. He's an idiot. Oh, the next Antonio Brown doing crazy shit all the time, yada, yada, yada. I mean, guys, I thought we live in a world where mental health, solving it, helping people in need that are battling, aiding them is a priority. So to see a lot of people dunk on Nacua or talk shit about it or take it as a negative, like, oh, he's in rehab. What the terrible. I can't believe it. I mean, what a shit opinion that is. I'll just be honest about it. He's doing something about it. Whether he is a party animal, whether he has other mental stuff that is coinciding with that, whether he has bad decision making, et cetera, et cetera. And then, Mark, I looked into this recovery center. It's not just for drugs and alcohol. It's for mental health and other aspects. So everyone just assuming he's some party animal that can't control himself. And maybe that's the case. I don't know. But people acting like, oh, he's trapped in there like these celebrities that are gone for months and months. Right here on YouTube, he's not stuck there, everyone. He goes in for his sessions, lives his life like a normal human, is working out with Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Kanate Munfield, and others at the Thousand Oaks Woodland Hills facility. This is a screenshot from Nacua's story today, by the way. And I think it's a good thing, Mark. I just wanted to say all that and get off my chest. I saw a lot of people dunking on him. I'm like, guys, he's trying to get help and feel better and be better. What?
Yeah, I think there's this old school mentality that anybody that seeks mental health or psychiatric help or job coaches, those types of things, that's just silliness. And I will never think worse about someone who seeks help, even if you could be the greatest person on the planet and you're always trying to improve, you're always trying to find a way to get an edge. And that's not the case here. He obviously has some things he needs to improve upon. And I heard this and I was elated, to be honest with you. I heard that he was in a improvement center. Let's just call it that. I said, man, that is really good news. And, I'd never poo-poo that approach or that idea. And I've never done that, but I think virtually every person I know could improve their personal growth, their behavior, their professional performance if they did seek some kind of help like this. And I was happy to hear it.
Yeah, and look at obviously Sean McVay and Les Snead have known about it. But I think Les has been a little more firm on his stance, saying like, "Hey," he said it in his very Les Snead way. Hey, look at the play on the field and who you are outside of it and how you handle yourself. That all feeds into contract stuff. Sean a little more forgiving in the way he said things. Like, we love Puka. Les Snead was a little more cut and dry on that, which you get it. He's a big decision maker and giving out money. He has a lot of say in that. Not that Sean McVay doesn't either, everyone, but they've known about it. If this is true that he checked in early March, Sean and Les talked to everybody the last 3 days. So they've known about it. And look, good on Nacua for whatever help he thinks was necessary. TJ Hushmanjada, if I said his name wrong, sorry, who is, a well-known media personality, played for the Bengals, was a good player, a wide receiver for them. He came out in last week when all Nacua drama with the girl saying she, got bit pretty bad. And he said, like, hey, Nacua, remember we talked about it, Mark, get security, hire a handler, someone to be with you, et cetera, all that stuff. He said then, like, hey, me and Nacua, we're cool. We have a relationship. And then he said today, like, hey, I talked to Nacua, like, no one forced him to go there. No one recommended it. Like, he sought it out and he wanted to do it himself earlier this month. And he says Nakua's in a good spot. And he's a good dude, great dude. And he thinks this is a great thing for him, whatever he needs. And obviously didn't get the details. So there's your insight on that, everyone. Nacua himself, apparently, no one forced him. McVay and the Rams and say, if you don't do this, you're not going to be the highest paid wide receiver, right? Because a lot of it could be fake for the money. Let's be honest about it, right? You're thinking, I better appear to get my act together so I can get paid generational wealth. It doesn't seem to be that case. And I think we all know Nacua decent enough through all his appearances, how he interacts with people, that he's a good guy, and good on him. One more time, I'll say it, for going to this recovery center for whatever his needs and well-being wants and desires are, right? So stop dunking on him, everyone. Be real. Would you dunk on your homie, your brother, your sister, your mom and dad if they wanted to do that on their own? Give me a break.
Yeah, he'll be fine, and it's a good sign. And the other thing he probably needs to do is maybe take himself off the podcast circuit and some of that other stuff he was doing. Just kind of get off center stage a little bit. Focus on the self-improvement. Focus on your game. Get fit. Get ready for this upcoming season, and just leave that stuff behind. I don't want to compare him to Cooper Kupp, but Cooper was one of those guys that never sought the limelight, and he obviously couldn't avoid it because of how awesome he was.
Yeah.
And but he didn't seek it. He didn't go on these different podcasts and streaming YouTube channels. It's just there's just no reason to do that at this point in your career. Just take a step back and focus on football and your personal health, your mental health as well.
Yeah. A young man in LA as a superstar. Would I have handled it great either? I'll tell you, probably not.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have hit every avenue possible, if you get what I'm saying, just like he has. So let's give a guy the break. He's getting help, and stop dunking on him, you dummies out there. Yeah, I said what I said, so stop it. So, all right. Better we get that out of the way, and we hope Nacua the best, of course, everyone. So let's get into all the drama, the craziness of the NFL world as a whole. And I want to start here, Mark. This doesn't necessarily affect the Rams per se, but it does affect, I think, Rams content overall, and maybe how a lot of people analyze the game. And I think this is incredibly important. And we won't stay too long on this subject, but Teamworks acquires and purchases PFF's enterprise business, cementing position as the leading AI platform in American football. So if anyone's been on Twitter X, and you've probably seen it, how PFF, if you did not know, was kind of split into two different businesses, but under the main PFF overall branching business, where there was the content side of it, where it would be the show, the people that were running the app, the website, the regular person that wants to enjoy PFF content, which would be all of us, right? There was that side of it, YouTube channel, Twitter, all that stuff, right? They all got laid off within the last week because Teamworks bought the business side of PFF, which is all the analytical stuff, but for teams to utilize. Rams, all the other 31 teams, et cetera, et cetera. So, what does that mean, everyone? Well, I'm sure very, very soon, PFF, and we'll see what they decide, either will or will not be available for the average person to look up player grades, to look up advanced stats, snap counts, coverage grade this, rush grade that, all, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So this will be interesting, and it just goes to show you that uh, the AI world, analytics, Teamworks is like this monopoly right now too, Mark, where they've been buying a ton of analytical companies in sports, and they want to combine all the data together to be like this one-stop whatever you need. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens because so many people treat PFF as the Bible. Let's be honest. So, like, we've all referenced PFF, player grades, et cetera, et cetera. But I am in a weird way, again, not happy about all the people that lost jobs, but I am happy now. It's like, it's going to force people to be like, hey, watch games, be objective as best you can instead of just pulling up a grade where, I mean, Mark, we pulled up grades in the past and we've disagreed on those grades for Rams guys significantly. We're like, he got a bad grade and he kicked ass today. What are we talking about? And look, you can look up all the PFF people have been on pods, have left in previous years, talked about they saw this downfall coming with the Chris Collinsworth and his son running the show, and there's some beefy TMZ level stuff in that with why PFF ended up at this point and why everyone's sad and upset everyone got laid off because they just didn't run a good show there. So I'll end my ramble on this, Mark. The monopoly of Teamworks acquiring all the good data, that's going to be interesting to see how the NFL and the Rams are going to use all that, or if they're going to want to.
Yeah, well, a couple of comments. One, PFF's kind of odd. I know what you're talking about. I've watched games and I see the PFF grade and I'm like, what the heck? But then, when they score Rams very highly, I like highlight it and it's like, man, these Rams players kick some butt. But I've been one of the first ones to call out when the grades don't make sense. But the other part of it is, and this is more, I don't expect it, we're not going to have the answer here, but it seems like I just want to know. The first thing I want to know is, does Teamworks already have agreements in place with these NFL teams? Because I thought, from the Rams' perspective, anyways, I know Sean McVay has made some kind of like off-putting comments about PFF in the past, and I also know that they have their own analytics department. And I know that situations like this have arisen in the past. It might be more baseball than football, but I know there is a situation where some teams chose to run their own rather than pool with a overarching, private business to manage this type of stuff. So that's what I'm wondering is if some of these wealthier teams are going to say like, yeah, no thanks, we got it. We're not going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do some research. I know this came up recently, a couple of years ago, where there was analytics that were being shared across it's either the NFL or MLB, and there were a handful of teams that did not participate. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out, and we may not know.
Yeah.
We may not ever know. Which teams are using which analytics, but. Interesting, but it is a bummer because I know Pro Football Focus on the consumer side. It was fun. It was good stuff. You can get some quick
Yeah.
information, and someone may fill that void now, though, right? There could be another upstart that comes in and does it for the retail side of it, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but it seems as of today, I mean, all the content creation for it, for us to enjoy a show with Trevor, who is on it right now, and others, I'm blanking their names, but I do encourage everyone to look up, Check the Mic, that features the main PFF guys once upon a time, Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, right? The guy with the more curly kind of hair, the other dude bald with the beard. If you can just picture those guys, check out their recent episode on Check the Mic, where the real story behind the death of PFF, where they have another OG PFF guy who's with CBS now, Mike Renner, and they share all the stories of the start of PFF when they were there, how the sale of it, leaders getting canned, Chris Collinsworth, right, who calls and the Sunday Night Football games and was a big proponent of always, by the way, shoving those PFF grades on national television for everyone to see with a player, even though we don't agree with the rankings. And a lot of players, most players hate that those rankings were available because it doesn't tell the whole story. And it's just funny how all that came to be. As listen to that episode, they described the PFF situation from the beginning to this recent end in great detail and how it's pretty shitty how it all ended up for everyone that got laid off. Because, I mean, think about it too, Mark. I'm not going to ramble on too far. Like, draft season is in full steam, and they're canning all the content guys where they could be getting the most marketing right now and the most money being made and the draft stuff. It's crazy. And again, check the mic on the recent episode, the real story behind the death of PFF from the OG PFF guys who had quit years ago or recently because they said F this before obviously Collinsworth and his son sold it to this AI mega data place. So anyway, pretty interesting, everyone. And then look at that. That'll affect how you possibly, if you have, PFF heavy weight and how you look at players and players you don't know, that stuff's probably going to be gone for quite some time. And I'm not too upset about it, to be honest about it.
Yeah, life goes on. We may be scrambling for certain data points more. It's going to be harder to get a hold of some data. By the time season starts, maybe we'll be able to pull it from other places. We'll see.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. We watch film here on Rams Up, everyone. We can make our own opinions without looking at a player grade and et cetera, et cetera. We'll be okay. But, hope all the guys that got laid off in the content side of things or the other half of PFF, we hope they find gigs. I'm sure all of them will. They're all talented people who do a lot of good stuff. And again, check out the Check the Mic episode, again, the detail about all that. But let's move on to other NFL news, everyone, that's, has weight. Hard Knocks for this upcoming season and the season after. The teams that are going to be on there have been announced, Mark, as Ari Miroff, who's, always has great tweets, sums up things incredibly well. He has his own podcast, does a great job. He says here, the reason the NFL announced 2 Hard Knock teams, the Seahawks for this upcoming 2026 season and the Patriots for the 2027 season, is because the league often hears from teams, we'll do it next year, as a way to decline and kick the can down the road. So they actually held a team, the Patriots, to it and already locked them in for 2027, as Adam Schefter reported that was the case. It's the first time in the NFL history that ever a team has been announced for Hard Knocks 2 years in advance. So, yeah, NFL is like, yeah, screw your bullshit, everyone. Team owner and team president and everyone saying, not this season, guys, next year. They're like, okay, no problem. We'll schedule you for next year. You're locked in. So that's pretty interesting, Mark.
Yeah, I guess you got to be careful how you answer questions moving forward. Most of the other teams probably were paying attention. And I was like, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're busy this year and next year and the year after. So no can do.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one example of the NFL just having complete and total, or I can't even speak right now, complete and total just power and authority over decision making. And they're like, sorry, you're doing it. And unless there's some crazy circumstances, I mean, they'll be locked in. But yeah, hey, 2 teams in the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not mad about that. I'll be interested to see how they're ran, whatever they want to reveal, right?
Yeah, for me, speaking for me personally, I don't find Hard Knocks that interesting anymore. Although I may tune in just for some glimpses of the Seahawks and maybe Cooper Kupp. That's probably interesting. But I think it's a good thing for the Rams to have the Seahawks in Hard Knocks. It's got to be a little bit of a distraction. It just has to be.
It is. I mean, look, when the Rams have been in it, every team has said it is distract. It is. The HBO team always tries to do their best to be hidden and blend in, but they're there. People are watching and et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the Kenny Britt and the golf cart incident. Is like,
I know.
What are we doing?
That wasn't that. I mean, it's crazy how times have changed in the Rams universe. Thank God. But there you
Yeah.
go, everyone. Maybe the year after Rams will be slated in, but they've done a couple hard knocks recently, so I think we'll get some other teams. There's plenty of others to see. And the Rams do their own media stuff behind the grind. We don't need hard knocks. We got a better, longer form, kind of more detailed version that we enjoy every offseason anyway. So
Yeah.
that's another thing too. Every team has their own media stuff, which is good. And shout out to the Rams media doing our version of that behind the grind, which I'll be looking forward to soon, right? And other stuff involving the NFL's, uh, rule over decision making and making stuff go as they see fit. NFL owners, according to Army summary here, have approved a change to the scheduling policy, clarifying that Friday games are no longer considered quote unquote short weeks. Previously, teams were limited to 2 short week games per season, typically Thursday games because they'll have less rest. That rule still applies, but now Friday games are no longer a part of that. He also says Christmas falls on a Friday this year, so the NFL will play multiple games that day in addition to the Amazon Prime Black Friday game. By passing this proposal, the NFL team is now allowed to play 2 Thursday games, which are considered the short weeks, quote unquote, and a Friday game as well, since that's no longer considered a short week. So, I mean, damn, Mark. The NFL just said, we don't give a shit about player health and safety, which we've always known is a bunch of fugazi bullshit that they always use that as an excuse. But for them to say, oh, a Friday game, which is a short week, right? Games, I think anything less than Sunday or Monday should be considered short weeks. For them to yank that title from that's pretty. If I were a player, I'd be like, that's a bunch of bullshit, honestly.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I mean, if you have, a Sunday game, it's probably manageable. But I'm guessing there will be no Monday night games followed by Friday night games. That would be unfair. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I don't really like it. It's nice having NFL games on Thursday and Friday nights, but I prefer it not to be my team. You know.
Yeah. And look at Rams being the Super Bowl favorite. You can bet your ass they're probably going to get funneled into this shit somehow. A Black
Yeah.
Friday game, Christmas on being on a Friday probably will be let's just be honest. They'll probably get funneled into that. One of the two. They'll probably play 2 Thursday games again, like they did this last year. So the Rams, again, if you had to pick 5 teams in that bucket, the number one team in everyone's thought right now, based on who they've gotten before the draft, Rams are going to end up on this. Just watch.
Yeah, one observation I would make, and I could be wrong on this, is that the Rams' home schedule is so attractive. I think that they're also going to think, you know what, we can put a lot of these games as the primary Sunday afternoon game,
Yeah.
and it's going to get mega ratings, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to move those games. I mean, you look at that home schedule, man. It is
Hardcore.
rock solid. It's
Yeah.
it's as good as you can ask for. So I don't know if they need to put those games on prime. They probably will, one or maybe two.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see a lot of that 125 slot for a Ram home games this
Yeah. Get
coming
Tom Brady
season.
and the Fox crew calling them like the
Right.
prime. Uh, what do they call it? The evening slate or whatever the proper term is, right? The morning games for us on the West Coast, and then the late window slate. That's usually what they call it.
Is he does Fox, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
Rams Raiders, is that I forget what would they let him do a Ram Raider game if it was on
I
Fox?
mean, if I were the NFL, I wouldn't let him
Yeah.
for the Raider purposes. But I mean, it's not like it used to be where NFC was only on Fox.
Right,
AFC,
exactly.
it's different now. Everyone has free
Right,
range to bid on the big games, the matchups they want, and that's how it is. So everyone's fighting for the primetime big games, no
right.
matter the conference they're in. So yeah, I agree. Rams will get the 5 primetime game slots like usual. They're going to. They'll get 2 Thursday games. They'll probably get one of these Friday games. They'll get the Tom Brady late window, game of the week Fox, which is cool with me. I like the little later afternoon. I like the later starts anyway, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
right. And
10
they
a.m.
got
games,
those
10
they
a.m.
got
games
those
here in the West Coast, and that's a pain. I know you East Coast guys are 1 o'clock there, a little different, but
And they got the Australian game for sure, right?
Yeah, we got the Australian game, right? We're watching it in the past, quote unquote. They're playing in the future, right? On a Friday, 10 a.m. The Rams are going to have a whack schedule this year based on this new ruling from the NFL, and we'll just deal with it. So be it. And
Hey, I don't know if you have it planned to talk about, and if you do, we can defer it. But did you pick up on Kyle Shanahan's accusation of sorts about?
yes, I did, and I'll pull up that slide immediately as we move on to that. So I mean, hey, look it, I do have this slide here, everyone. Where okay, so what did Ari Meroff say? As again, I pull up his tweets all the time. He does a great job summing things up. He says, spicy. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, says he knows for a fact the Rams lobby to play them in Australia because 49er fans take over SoFi Stadium. Shanahan wants the NFL in return to send the Rams to Mexico later in the year when the 49ers have a game there. As Shanahan was on PFT. Shanahan was also at the same interview table with the PFT guys, Mike Fleur and Chris Sims, with head coach Matt LaFleur, who is the Green Bay Packers head coach. And they're all homies. Like Sean says, he has a great relationship. They're all good friends. And then Matt was like, how about that Ram stuff in Australia? As he was chuckling, Matt kind of stirring the pot on purpose, what's got Kyle to say all that. So, I quote tweeted the clip and the tweet, and I said, hey, man, anytime, any place with that picture, that meme picture of Sean petting, it's kind of crazy, giving a pat on Kyle's head after they beat them in 2024 where, no Nacua, no cup. And, photoshopped in, there's a Lombardi trophy that Sean's holding. So got a lot of 49 fans all pissy over this. A lot of people talking shit, trying to get all personal with me. Look at keep sports. You want to take shots at me and start getting personal and shit, I'll respond accordingly. So don't think I'm going to just take the high road for shits and giggles, everyone. And, another reason why 49er fans are a bunch of shitheads and some of them are pretty trash, right? It's like, look at, we're keeping it sports. Let's not take personal shots. Calling me, you can go on my tweets. You can find some fun banter I've had with people. So get on 49er fans for getting their chonies in a bunch over a funny meme. That's true. Does your coach have a Super Bowl championship? No. Does my coach? Yes. Does your coach blow multiple leads in big games in the playoffs? Yes. Does my head coach? No. So I'm sharing more of that.
And was their last Super Bowl during the Eisenhower administration? Hey, how about that Super Bowl victory?
Once upon a time, you can only watch 49ers Super Bowl winning highlights on VHS. They're lucky. The digital age is here. I guess, people converted the VHS highlights to digital, and you can watch them, I guess wherever you want to find them. But freaking Shanahan, man. And I get it. I wish the Rams weren't playing in Australia either, by the way. So
yeah, just let me just chime in on one thing. Is like, if it's true what he said is that the Rams don't want the 49ers taking over SoFi. Again, I think that's a mischaracterization, and but it's fair enough for the Rams to say, what, the nature of Los Angeles is there's a lot of 49er fans, and it's not the true home field advantage you would like against a divisional rival. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's like, yeah, we'll play in Australia. Send us the 49ers, and I'm okay with that. I'm game with that, and. I think there's always going to be a big 49er presence in Los Angeles, and that's something the Rams are going to have to deal with. And I embrace it. Spend your 49er cash, on Kroenke's merchandise, on his food, but the Rams did some. If it's all true, the Rams were smart about it. So like, hey man, send us the 49ers.
Screw it. I always try to go to the 49er Rams games here in LA just to show my support and not be the people that are like, I don't want to go because it's expensive. If you're, if you can afford it and you are a Rams diehard, try to go be at that game. Be the reason why it won't be heavy 49ers there, right? I think that's a good mindset to have. So, I'll try to be at that game every year for the rest of my life, at least that one big divisional game. And those games are always end up being classic matchups, it feels like, or there's big crazy shit that goes on. So Hey, so be it. If Kyle Shanahan wants to play Mexico for their home game, anytime, any
Yeah.
place, anywhere, buddy. And we'll see how your squad does this year, which I think 49ers will be a good team. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, as a matter, I think right now I'd rank the Seahawks as probably my third choice in the division, but it's early.
Not a hot take. Not a hot take at all. Yeah, I mean, outside of the 49er Rams beef, which, hey, always, like I say, keep it sports. Let's not get personal and just say crazy shit online. Just say why. It's not that serious, everyone. Uh, Another thing where the NFL, I think, made a good decision on scheduling, right? The Friday stuff is a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion, for the players and just for our own watching experience for the Rams and other teams out there. They say there will no longer be multiple, double header Monday night football games, which they had been doing in recent years, as Ari Meroff, says here as well. And, shout out to Hans Schroeder, who, reported on this, that the NFL decided to yank the double header Monday night stuff. And he says, those extra games will be placed elsewhere on the schedule, including a potential Thanksgiving Eve game. So, I mean, thank God, Mark, because it seemed like the doubleheader Monday night games they were doing earlier in the year, like one of the games sucked. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
right.
I just felt that way. I could be wrong off the top of my head. And again, I know I did it earlier in the year, but I always felt like those matchups were meh. So look, at Monday Night Football is a classic, sacred
Right.
time slot, legendary games, legendary announcers. Why are we double headering it, or whatever the proper term is? Excuse me. Good decision by them, at least on this mark. Thank God.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's always been, just a very special part of Americana, really, at this
Yeah.
point. Going back to, oh God, what was that? Don Meredith and Howard Cosell and all those guys. Is that his name? Don Meredith? I think it was. He's the guy that wore the cowboy hat sometimes. I think it was him. And yeah, and you're right. It became kind of like just not as special. It just wasn't as
Yeah.
special. I mean, it was nice to be able to watch so many hours of football on a Monday night, but it's almost too much for a Monday night. You get home from work for a lot of us, anyways, and it'd be nice just to have that one game, 3 hours, a special matchup, and just leave it at that. And I'm glad they did. It looks like they made the right decision here. I agree.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. We assume Rams will have a Monday night game in there somewhere, as I believe. Did they have one this last year? Well, maybe they
Oh, they
didn't,
had to
Mark.
have at least one. Didn't
Sunday
have any.
night, Tampa, Thursday, Niners, Seahawks. Uh, Whatever. Who
I
cares?
feel like they
But
had to have at least one, but
I think, yeah. I mean, it was Falcons Rams at the end of the year,
oh, there you go.
where
Yeah, it was
we
a
Bijan
yeah.
Robinson kicked our ass single handedly, and that was fun. Good comeback at the end, but they didn't complete the comeback. But anywho, that was a Monday game I couldn't think of. But hey, good on the NFL. They made a good decision there. As we move on to it, some other rulings. So NFL owners have approved an expansion of behavioral and mental health services. Teams must now have a full-time mental health clinician, I think is the proper word, right, at their facility. So good. You hear about all the people dealing with issues. We've talked about Puka already, him going to his own or on his own accord to a big, Southern California, LA area recovery center. But good on the NFL for making this a rule where like every team's got to have a mental health clinician on the staff. And that's a good thing, Mark. I mean, people are dealing with craziness. I think, let's be honest about it. Social media and everyone's seeing crazy shit every day, whether it be world stuff, personal stuff, too much info here, too much info there, personal life, wishing your life was better. A lot of people are just not in a good spot. Let's be honest. So I think in the modern age where everyone's just dealing with a lot of shit, you're getting too much info, and that's my opinion. I think it's good that there is someone available if you so choose to talk to help you out. And it's good the NFL got this in there, I believe.
Yeah, and it's just common sense, and it has a little bit maybe to do with happened with the Dallas Cowboy player this past season. And I'm I'm a softie, when I see players, um, terrible things happen to them in a game and everybody's just unloading on them, some of their own fans. I mean, look at it, what Xavier Smith this past year. There was a lot of
Yeah.
hate flowing towards him. If a guy like him jumps on social media, that can be just a horrible experience. And
Yeah.
you don't want it to be. It's a game, and it's an impactful play that they do or do not make.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't result in sometimes the way it does. I mean, think about this Duke player the other night in that basketball game. You could just tell he
Yeah.
was just distraught, just
Yeah.
destroyed, utterly destroyed. And he's a kid, it's like eight, I don't know how old he is, 18, 19, 20 years old. And it looked like he was just miserable, just
Yeah.
100% miserable. And they need, it's good to have someone around that they can reach out to. Whether, and I would argue, maybe it shouldn't be optional. Maybe there are situations where, like, no, after you need to go see Dr. Jim tomorrow morning, like it or not, and you can
Yeah.
have a little talk with him.
So all those points you made, I agree with for sure. So we'll see. I mean, I'm sure maybe the Rams may or may not announce who that person is. I mean, maybe they partner with the recovery center people and wherever Malibu, wherever Nakua is at, and spending some time at. So good NFL owners, another win for them, right? And then Mark, other rule changes that I think are good things, including this one about the mental health, physician clinician on staff here for every team. The kickoff stuff. And I have here from Tom Pelissero, he has a longer tweet kind of breaking down more rule changes. I just have the one that's kind of highlighted in a red box here, if you can see that on YouTube. I know the box isn't as thick as I thought it was when I tried to highlight this earlier, but I'll read it as such. To eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line by the competition committee, this rule has been approved, a rule change, excuse me. So the long story short, everyone, on this is that if you remember the new kickoff rules, you kick it into the end zone, team starts at the 35-yard line, which is a massive advantage for the receiving team because the NFL says, no, we don't want teams kicking, doing touchbacks, etc. We want guys to have chances to return it. And they changed all the rules and etc. And I think it worked out pretty cool. So teams were abusing that philosophy, saying, okay, if we just kick it out of bounds, it's only a 15-yard penalty. And if our kicker can accurately kick it at, like, the 20, one of the big yard lines, they can, in theory, start further back. So instead of the 35-yard line from a touchback, kicking it out of bounds intentionally, the receiving team could start at the 30-yard line, a little further back, the 25-yard line, a little even further back, maybe even the 20-yard line, where there was some instances of that happening this past year. So the NFL saw that and said, no more of that bullshit. And look at, teams took advantage of that loophole, and they're taking that possibility out as, again, to eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off at the 50-yard line. So I think that's a good rule change, Mark.
Yeah, I was unaware that this loophole existed and that
Me too.
teams are taking advantage of it. So if they were, yeah, it makes sense. They're just putting in a tweak to solidify, the intent of the new kickoff rule to begin with.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And then another kickoff rule, or again, shout out to Ben Volin. He has more, bullet points, but I'm just doing the highlighted one if you could see it. Also with the kickoff, they said they're allowing teams to have a new 5-4-2 alignment, which will be permitted on kickoff returns. Because you remember, it was like you only have two guys back and everyone else is on the line, right? You can have like multiple people, like the old traditional kickoff where it would be staggered. So the NFL is allowing that staggered formation on receiving, where you'd see, a front line, a middle group, and then your two guys, the main returners in the back. They're allowing that to be a thing again. Not everyone has to be lined up so close on that, whatever they called it, the the neutral zone, I guess you could say, where everyone was so close. So that's pretty cool. We'll see more traditional looking formations again, but at the same landing zone, and all those other rules will still apply, which cool with me.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is because my eyes have told me that there's not much of a return game going on at this point. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I've seen. It's much ado about nothing, and maybe this little tweak, they've continue to reduce the risk of high-speed collisions, but they also are allowing teams to put guys in a little bit better position to block for the returns. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that too. And maybe we'll get some bigger body guys gonna get an opportunity like the old days to catch a kickoff and take it back. If it's if it is in that landing zone, we'll see how it plays out. We hope Bubba Ventrone gets this team's act together, please, on special teams, or we can cover better, return better, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to see what his thoughts and game plan will be with these new two rules. And obviously, we weren't expecting Ethan Evans or Mevis to be kicking out of bounds, but this return stuff. Hopefully that will lead to better returns, better field position, and then maybe a couple house calls with whoever is going to be the main guy back there this upcoming season, Mark.
Yeah. Most of these rules make sense to me, and it's good to see them, continuing to tweak things to improve the game. This is I haven't seen one here that I really disagree with.
Yep. So let's get into more of those individual ones. So going back to Ari Mirov's good summaries here. NFL owners have approved a new rule that if replacement refs are used this season, would allow the NFL officiating department in New York to correct clear and obvious misses from those replacement refs that impact a game. So, for example, he says, if the Hail Mary were to happen again with the replacement refs like it did in Seattle and with Seahawks Packers, where no one could figure out what it was, they'll have to correct the call. So, and them putting this in, Mark, going back to the NFL and the Refs Association, their union not being close. Goodell said they're not close, and it's disappointing. Not good. Are we really going to get Rams, Niners in Australia with replacement refs? It seems like it's going to be the case, and what an embarrassment. And for them to put this rule in, right, for just this season, quote unquote, they're banking on that's going to be the case, and that's shitty, dude. It is.
Yeah. And this, as written, what I'm seeing here is very ambiguous and very broad. I mean, maybe there's more fidelity in the actual, words, the actual text of the rule, what can be overturned and what cannot. But yeah, it could be just another lever. I'm trying to be optimistic here. It's just another leverage point. It's partially sending a message to the refs union that, hey, we're moving on without you guys. You need to move closer to what we're offering here, or we're going to go ahead and use these replacement refs.
Dish.
But man, I hope you're wrong, though. I understand your concern. I just hope you're wrong.
I hope I am too, but for them to be like, just for this season, the NFL, they're not a bunch of dummies. They'll always do stuff in their best interest, clearly, with the other stuff we just talked about, other game, Black Friday stuff, not a short week anymore. So they'll always do stuff that will benefit them. And this is one of those situations where I think in theory, this rule makes sense to just have forever. But for them to be like all of a sudden do that just for this season because replacement refs are a high possibility, that's just whack of them. But the rule itself to get calls right, okay, that makes sense. But I know they're putting this in because they know replacement refs are going to likely happen. That's the problem. Not that, hey, we want to get calls correct even when the main guys are here because they screw up plenty themselves. It's only because replacement refs are here. I mean, that's just whack. So, okay, there's that, everyone, that the NFL is implementing in. Then also with kickoff stuff as well, which is good. NFL owners have approved a proposal allowing teams to declare an onside kick at any time during the game rather than only when trailing or in the fourth quarter like it was when they changed the kickoff format. There is no surprise onside kicks like it used to be, right? I mean, everyone thinks of, 09 Saints Colts Super Bowl or 09/2010 season where the second half Sean Payne made the incredibly ballsy call to surprise onside kick. They recovered it. That was a big turning point where they scored later on that drive, I believe, with Drew Brees and prime Drew Brees, etc. So that's not coming back, and that probably won't ever come back, sadly. But thank God, Mark, you can onside kick whenever you want. That's good that that's returning. That should have always been the case, even last season and back.
Yeah, I just, I wonder, man, I guess there could be situations late in the game where you might want to sort of announce that you're trying an onside kick. I just don't know how significant this is. And you mentioned Sean Payton. Before you mentioned him, I said, like, how many coaches besides Sean Payton are going to take advantage of this? I'd be really
Yeah.
surprised if we saw much of it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. But another step in the special teams that just makes it better. And we'll see what
Yeah, it
Bubba
doesn't
McFerrin
hurt.
wants to do with that,
Yeah, yeah. There's no reason not to. If teams want to, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
go ahead. But I'd be very surprised if we saw much of it.
Yeah, from the Rams side, I agree. That's not going to happen. Because if the Rams are scoring a lot of points, then we don't gotta be doing this shit. So
Right.
that's the goal: be a number one offense like they were last year, please. And then another rule that has been approved from the NFL is a rule change allowing the league to consult with on-field officials on potential disqualifications, both flagrant football acts on the field. Right? Remember Kevin Dotson got stepped on and that should have been an ejectable offense. Who was the player, Mark? I'm blanking on it right now. Whatever.
It was
Eric Hall, right? Yes.
Derek Hall.
And that should have been an ejected, something that he should have been ejected for because, he ended up still getting suspended, by the way. So the NFL still viewed it as an egregious, flagrant football act. And then non-football acts. And they could place a flag on the field, which is all right. That makes a lot of sense to me because Ari Mirov has an example saying, just like the DK Metcalf situation last year, where he did end up getting suspended the final games of the year after he wasn't ejected last year with his incident with a Lions fan where he slapped that dude, right? Remember? And he yanked his shirt or something like that because there was no flag. All that changes now. And maybe, I know it's another Nacua example here, but remember a couple of years ago, Nacua got ejected in the beginning of that Seahawks game where we beat them in overtime. D-Rob had the game-winning bomb touchdown, and that was a stressful game. Cam Kitchens had the pick six. If you remember that game, everyone. Where Nacua got punched first, and then he retaliated back, and they only saw him, right? Second guy always gets caught, and they ejected him. I take that as the NFL, outside viewing force consulting with the on-field officials would be like, hey, maybe don't eject Nacua, or maybe say, oh, we're going to eject that first guy too to make it fair, right? So I think this is a good rule change as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it. I think it was one of my first sports pet peeves. I talked about it. Everybody kind of celebrated almost the fact that don't be the second guy in, don't be
Right.
the second guy, and
Always
and
that
it was
way.
accepted. It was accepted, and even refs will say, yeah, we're going to get the second guy. It was like, well, you're getting it wrong every time.
Yeah.
We're just accepting the fact that we're blowing it every time because we're getting the second guy, not the instigator. So yeah, fix that for sure.
Yeah. And then again, just like the Derek Hall stepping and stomping on Kevin Dotson, they can get his ass out of there immediately as well. So cool with me. This is a rule change that makes sense too. And this is
Yeah.
not a temporary 1 year thing with replacement refs. This is a rule that's sticking around for forever unless they want to get rid of it. So
Yeah, and
cool.
that Derek Hall play, I would not have been surprised if Coleman Shelton had gotten penalized on that
Oh,
play.
when he shoved them and yeah,
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 he went after and he did the right thing. But there's
yeah,
been cases where that scenario has played out, and Coleman Shelton would have gotten a 15-yard flag while
yeah.
Kevin Dotson limps off the field.
I know. And then Kevin was out for quite some time, and luckily, he was around for the big games later. Thank God. But no bueno. So NFL will step in situations like that, whether fans are getting slapped or guys are getting stomped on in the field.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So cool on that. And then NFL owners, another rule change that has been implemented is that the NFL has approved the Steelers' proposal to make permanent the 2025 rule, allowing teams to have one call with up to 5 unrestricted free agents, whether it be Zoom, FaceTime, regular phone call with free agents during the legal tampering period. That rule is now locked in for forever and ever, which is like we talked about last time, Mark, how was this never a thing anyway? Like insane. People were making life-changing decisions, and you couldn't talk to the head coach, you couldn't talk to other coaches, you couldn't talk to the GM and the president and the owner and whoever else you wanted to. Like, that was crazy,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
they're allowing that to be the case. Or let's just say Joe Burrow in the future is a free agent and wants to talk with Sean and Les about joining the Rams. I'm just having fun here, but he can talk to them, and we don't lose draft picks over that phone call and FaceTime, etc. So good on the Steelers for getting this proposed, and the NFL owner saying, "Yeah, like let's let this be a thing."
Yeah, another rule that just makes perfect sense. And I imagine some of these calls were already happening, maybe not out in the
Yeah,
open
dude.
Zoom type calls, or they're not recording it for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get it out in the open, let everybody make these, what is it, 5 calls, and yeah, move on.
Yeah, so it's good. And this benefits the Rams too, everyone, right? LA, the new facility will hopefully be built eventually soon out there in the Valley area. I mean, it's probably going to take some time. What am I talking about? But that'll all be beneficial, right? You don't think Sean McVay and Snead and Kevin Demoff and others, Tony and the Kroenke family can't persuade some guys to want to sign with the Rams? Yeah, they will. So this is a benefit for the squad for sure. But as we move on to some other news, not necessarily a rule change, but some other morphing and monopoly of NFL products and things, everyone. If you did not know, within the last year or two, ESPN under Disney, who owns everything, by the way, too, which is insane, they bought the NFL network and NFL media. And now, how that works essentially is that many NFL media employees will transition over to ESPN on Wednesday as a part of the NFL network as part of the ESPN network. Let me back up on that, make sure I get that right. Buying the NFL network and the Red Zone channel. And Commissioner Roger Goodell said on Tuesday, when he was talking at the league meetings, sent a note to those impacted by the move. Sources have told this website, apologies, I don't remember the name of it, that no immediate talent move announcements are expected to be announced by Wednesday, but some well-known names at NFL Network have already signed deals to stay up on board or aboard. Sources added that there will be noticeable crossover of talent and content between ESPN and the NFL Network. So, man, Mark, it's just crazy to see the monopoly of obviously the sports stuff we talked about, PFF being absorbed by this other analytical group who have bought tons of other analytics, and they're just kind of morphing it into one. ESPN buying the NFL network, where again, Disney owns ESPN, which Disney owns pretty much everything on planet Earth, it feels like now, which is kind of insane. In that, once upon a time, everyone's like, monopolies are bad for business and trade and commerce. And now we're just letting Disney and other companies just buy everyone out, and no one's going to fight it. It's really weird. This could get a little weird and wacky, right? Like Ian Rappaport's NFL Network guy, Adam Schefter's ESPN guy. Like, are they going to be fighting for TV time now? Like, how's that going to go? I mean, whoop-de-doo, I guess. But this is I don't know, man. I don't like the monopoly that Disney is doing on everything.
So the NFL Network will still be called the NFL Network.
Yes. So
but it's disassociated with the NFL.
No, that's not how I take it. I just take it that ESPN just owns it now. The ESPN are the bosses.
Yeah,
instead of the NFL league owning it, ESPN now owns it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just it's weird. It's just weird to me. My only takeaway is, and this comes from a place of ignorance, is how ESPN is competing for games that they will want to carry, correct? Yeah. As will CBS and Fox. Does this put CBS and Fox at a disadvantage when it comes to those negotiations with the NFL, or is it totally a separate deal? That would be my just one question.
I mean, look, the NFL Network hasn't been. I mean, look, they'll have the occasional Saturday weird game where they'll do stuff, which I think they'll they'll handle. Like, usually late in the year, there's always like that. Oh, a special presentation, Saturday Night Football, NFL Network, or stuff like that, right? I'm sure that'll still live on and be the case. But to your point of like CBS and all that, I mean, no, I don't think it affects any of that. Truthfully,
I don't so much mean NFL Network, but the ESPN NFL Network NFL connection that somehow still exists, perhaps. Yeah, maybe it's much ado about nothing.
I get
it
what you're
just
saying.
yeah,
Like, are they in bigger cahoots than the other
right,
NBC and everyone else, right?
right,
Well,
right.
based on the history of planet Earth and all the shady shit that goes on in human history, probably, dude.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean,
mean, that's
it won't have any
unfortunate.
impact. It won't have any impact on you and I. It won't have any
No, yeah.
impact on the viewers, but it may not. I just think it might be something that the executives at Fox and CBS aren't thrilled about. It would be my guess.
Yeah, and well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it could affect, a Rams fan because now ESPN has control over what the NFL Network opinions and what they will allow things to be said, right? Let's be honest about it. You say what you want about Mike Florio on PFT, but he's always keeping it real on things he believes in, and he's always anti-establishment and always being like, NFL Network won't cover this, but I will. ESPN won't cover this, but I will. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to sneeze there, everyone. Make sure I didn't blast into the microphone there. But yeah, to the monopoly of news, NFL news, and content. I don't like Disney owning everything, Mark. It's we don't want that mouse running all of entertainment. My God, which they do now apparently. But
Yeah, I get your concern, and that floods over into a lot of aspects of life
yeah,
nowadays. But this is just one more place where we're witnessing it.
jeez Louise, man, everyone's just absorbing, right? PFF's owned by this group now. The NFL Network
Hey,
here, ESPN here.
hey, Ian, they may come after us next.
Well, look it. If you do, I'll always say what I want to say. No one's gonna make me say some other shit I don't believe in. So don't worry about that, everyone. Unless they're saying, "Hey, we'll give you $1 billion." Cool, I'll sign that, and then me and Mark can do, uh, you know, Rams up version 2 somewhere else, and then that won't be in the
Right.
contract. So cool. I
Yeah.
there's loopholes. I bet I'll be able to get in. So don't worry, everyone. But as we move on, again, one more time, I had this slide earlier, for shits and giggles. Yeah, anytime, any place, Niner fans, as a reminder with what Shanahan said about being pissy of the Australia game and Rams purposely doing it. But other Snead comments, we heard Sean say absolutely no ways that Brown's proposal of them having 5 years in advance first round draft picks getting passed. And then shortly after, Browns yanked it because Sean's part of the competition committee. And he was like, yeah, everyone in the competition committee said hell no to that. Les Snead on K Adams said, I would have backed that. But it's so interesting. Like Kevin Demoff was all in on it. Our general manager, Les Snead, is all in on it. And then Sean not being on it. It's kind of interesting. They usually agree and are in lockstep with each other on everything, it feels like. Kind of funny that they're not on this, Mark. But of course,
Yeah,
the
and
F6 GM says, yeah, I'm good with that.
yeah, and I would have guessed it'd be the other way around, that Sean would be all in on it, and the Demoff and Snead would be like, "No, Sean, we're not doing that."
Yeah.
But got it backwards.
Yeah, and then, shout out to Les. He was on, the Fits and Wits, or Fits and Wit. Sorry, I said that weird. Andrew Whitworth, Rams legend. Ryan Fitzpatrick, a Rams legend himself, as he was a draft pick of ours and had a fun career and has played good football in many different stops. He was on their show and he talked a bunch about draft and how they are, Snead analyzes it and all the, how he leans on a lot of people to just, be prepared. And, he shared a funny story about the cornerback situation with, Sean saying right after the season ended, and you can watch that video as well on YouTube, him talking to Whitworth and Fitzpatrick about how, like, Sean was like, I don't feel like we have, a good, a
We're
prepared plan. I'm kind of
disorganized.
paraphrasing.
I think he said we're disorganized.
Yeah, we're disorganized about like how we're going to attack the cornerback room because we need to overhaul it. So from that one statement alone, Mark, I'm glad that Sean realized that the cornerback group got fried for 2 months at the end of the year, which is why they didn't win a Super Bowl. So I'm glad that he realized, hey, we need to overhaul that group. And then Les Snead being like, we have 5 guys that we want to target. I think we're pretty ready to go. Like, what else can we do, right? We're waiting on a phone call back from Kansas City, Sean. And then Sean's like, well, what happens if all 5 of these guys don't end up as Rams? And Sean, and then Les is kidding, like, well, how positive of you, Sean, right, to feel that way.
Yeah, the way I took that, and maybe I'm mistaken, but and it's one of the challenges of free agency. I thought that he was saying, I thought that was why he pushed for the trade, because free agency is no guarantee that these guys have to want to come to LA.
Yeah,
But you trade for Trent McDuffie, he's yours.
yeah.
But that's how I took that, but I could be wrong.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that take from you for sure. And again, it's just fun little banter. Watch the full episode; it's great. It's way more loose. Les Snead always has a fun, unique personality, and the Kay Adams interview was cool. The the Fitz and Wit one was longer, and they had some good banter outside of not just Rams oriented stuff, but it's great content to hear from Les Snead. Be loose, be confident in the squad. And then he did say this too, Mark. We talked about Sean's comments the other day about how he said, well, we always want to be able to find guys that are difference makers with the ball in their hands and guys that can go get the quarterback. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. And, that should maybe lean into all our minds of where they're feeling. Les Snead did say when he was asked, about like, hey, what, Kay Adams pressing, like, what are you going to do at pick 13? And, Les elaborated there, PFT as well, that like, hey, the cost of moving up is pretty heavy. So it may not be as likely, but that's just GM talk. I don't buy that for a second. They'll make phone calls and try to do it. Let's be honest. But I do think it's pretty interesting that, he is playing the fun game of like, oh, do you think we're going to go offense? Do you think we're going to go defense? But I think Sean's comments the other day really lean to it. I mean, Mark, Kay Adams brought up Makai Lemon, and Les had a nice smirk and smile on that, and he's like, he's a good football player. And Kay tried to press a little bit more. He's like, Mr. Lemon, what a great football player. So, hey, look at receiver, pass rusher. Look at it. If I had to mail in those 2 tickets, I think that's what's going to happen. Either a trade up, trade down, or even sticking at 13. I think. Look at Sean and Les. They don't have good poker faces. They'll hint at things whether they mean to or not. So we'll see what happens, Mark. But we got some good, fun clips that everyone needs to go enjoy from Les.
Yeah, I'm still torn on would they draft the tight end there, and it seems like Rams Nation Ramily is divided on that.
A lot of people, I'll be fine with it.
A lot of Ram fans are like, we got 4 tight ends. That group is good. We're solid. Just stop it. And then other people saying, hey, he's not just Sadiq is not just a tight end. He's more than that. He could improve this passing game more than a Lemon or a Jordan Tyson, one of those guys. So that's what I'm torn about. Other than that, I think there's 3 or 4 guys that are obviously going to be that they're targeting at 13. Sadiq, I'm just not sure about.
No, I get it. Look, not to get too heavy in the draft. We'll expand on these thoughts soon I'll release more, breakdowns, my rankings on guys in the coming days and beyond leading up to the draft, everyone. But to your point real quick, while we're on the subject of Kenyon Sadiq, as I pull up my notes here and just off the top of my head, I mean, Mark, the blocking is just so gosh dang good when he's getting momentum. The traditional 3-point stamp stuff is inconsistent. There's moments where he's burying guys, moments where he whiffs or maybe isn't as good. But all the blocks, and I said this in that ranking episode, go ahead and tune and find that from last week, everyone, where I ranked the tight ends rounds 1, 2, or 3 worthy. Kenyon was my only round 1 worthy guy. The yards after catch is ridiculous. As I pull up my notes, the speed, the acceleration, his route running, how strong he is. He can learn and be coached up from Yarber, Woods, Calabrese to get better on that. And then the ball tracking. And then again, one more time, the blocking when he's on the move, whether it be lead blocking, whether it be combo blocking off and getting momentum. Wham blocks the Rams do a ton. Lead blocking on reverses, isolation, duo, etc. He demolishes people. So the Rams value blocking. That in itself, with the athletic traits and the yards after catch ability, and then the good ball tracking ability, that's worthy of pick 13. Let's say if Makai's not there and Carnell Tate and the Jordan Tyson thing scares me. To be honest, I would choose him if health was good over Kenyon, but to maybe make you feel better or other Rams fans feel better here, like that doesn't make sense. It makes sense based on that. And then, as I said many times as well, I'll repeat it here. Davis Allen in the final year of his contract, he's had a lot of bad drops the last couple of years. Disappointing in the receiving game. Other than a few moments, he's caught some touchdowns. I get it. Colby Parkinson, the final year of his deal. Terrence Ferguson has long-term, plans here, of course. And then Tyler Higbee is a year-to-year basis as well. So 3 out of the 4 guys you have there are unlikely to be Rams next year. So you need guys that you're going to feel good to be in there. Could Davis Allen get traded? Could Colby get traded, et cetera? I mean, who knows? But hopefully that makes sense, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, 12 personnel with Ferguson and Sadiq would be pretty scary. With those two and Puka and Devontae. And the dilemma I have, again, last thing I'll say about the draft is I want to mock Sadiq to the Rams, but I just know I'm just going to get hammered for it from 50% of the fans out there.
Yeah, again, in the mocks, and look, we'll have a mega one before the draft, of course, everyone. If certain scenarios work out, then the Rams will probably go wide receiver. If there's the alternate scenarios where Mackay and Carnell Tate and look, could they draft Jordan Tyson? But the injury stuff scares me, man. He hasn't worked out. He's still doing the hamstring, didn't do his pro day stuff. That's no bueno, man. It's not like he's recovering from a torn knee where he can't participate. Sadiq would make sense if a Mackay's gone, if a Carnell Tate's gone, and if they are excluding Tyson because of the medical issues and his hamstring not being good for months and months and months now. That's not good. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But if they picked him at pick 13, I would be on board with it. I really would. So we'll see what happens.
Fair enough.
Well, we'll see what happens, everyone. But there you go. There's your update on Nacua and all the different rule changes and a little draft thought there at the end here, everyone. But my God, for the good PR, please give us an update on the uniforms tomorrow, Rams. Give me a date. Say 1 week from tomorrow, or say in 2 days, or just please. And we all know they have to do it before the draft. It has to be done. It has to. So we know it's coming soon, but I think to wash away everyone's bad, thoughts and worry of Nacua and everything else, me and Mark don't feel that way. We think he's getting proper help, which is good on him. I think it would be wise for them to say, okay, April Fool's is done. All that stuff's done. Let's take some of Atlanta's shine. When they release their stuff tomorrow, I'll be like, hey, we're coming out on Friday or whatever else. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Something else to talk about. I'm not a uniform guy. I'm not a logo guy. I don't care as much as a lot of Ram fans, but I am eager to see it for sure.
Yep. I mean, the hat's leaking. There's a new Wordmark, which would be an updated version of my throwback hat style, right? With the long leg of the R. So let's see it. Let's get some good gear. I'm ready to buy a Matthew Stafford jersey with a proper shoulder horn and all that. And maybe somebody else if I'm feeling, to it. But my God, let's get them out there so we all could feel good and, see our first round pick hold up that nice jersey. Well, maybe I'm wearing it, at a watch party or somewhere else. I'll figure that out at a later time, right, Mark?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. So, I mean, everyone, we appreciate this longer episode today. A lot to cover, a lot of rule changes and how they affect the Rams. But again, if you like our content, everyone, we appreciate the hell out of you. Support not just us here at Rams Up, but support all Rams content creators. We don't have this 1,000+ community of YouTube and podcasters like other fan bases. We have a nice, small and still growing community and fan base that are content creators, I should say, and support everyone. Everyone has their own unique personalities and characteristics and traits that makes, each channel, podcast, show, and person unique. So find what you like. If you like us, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Uh, Always share everything, share the links to the pod, share the links to the video, and it helps the Rams fan base in turn grow as well. And, helps other Rams fans or, showcase their team to other NFL fans of different teams, right? So we support it and we appreciate it. Yes, we do. But hey, maybe we're going to get update tomorrow. Fingers crossed. If we do, then you'll see me tomorrow for sure, everyone. No doubt about it. But that'll do it here, everyone. And we'll see you very, very soon. But always, no matter where you are, rep your blue and yellow, rep it proud, rep it loud, and always, no matter where you are, throw up the horns. You know what to say. Go Rams, baby.